For a show I've never heard of, and quite frankly, a show nobody talks about, I was very impressed. The concept of each car being a different universe, with its own rules and locks, I found to be quite imaginative. Some of which I found to be very well done, while others not so much. I'm looking at you, Crystal Car. If I had to pick a favorite, it would have to be the Chrome Car. The characters I find to be very likable. 1-1 being a comedy relief, but also helpful, and Atticus being a diplomat. However, I think Tulip takes the spotlight. In the cartoons I grew up with, most female characters were not likable. Most of the time they were only concerned about getting the hot guy, or caring only about looks, being popular, or being so vulnerable and or stupid that the men, or the boys, would have to bail them out. Then you have anime, where the women were either over-emotional or looked great in a bathing suit. There were a few exceptions, but this was the baseline for me. Tulip felt like a real person. I feel anyone in these circumstances would have broken down at least once, but we see she has the strength to keep going. We see her get emotional, but it's all within reason. In fact, she only really full-on cried once, and at that point it was really well-deserved. We also see that while she is analytical, she can also be humorous. Any one of these traits are often the character, but here, they are just that. Traits. I'd say it's a mixture of good writing, direction, and voice acting. I guess that should be the next talking point, is the voice acting. For acting in general, I can only see really good acting or really bad acting. Everything else is just normal. For this one, I'd put the acting in the normal to really good range. It does what it needs to do, but when heavy emotion is needed, it's in good supply. Next would be the animation. I'll give a brief synopsis of my taste. I say bad traditional animation is going to look a whole lot better than bad CG animation. I prefer traditional, but if CG has a look of traditional, like say Enter the Spider-Verse or The Dragon Prince, I'm perfectly okay with that. My other major belief is that good storytelling is a substitute for bad animation. If the story is good enough, I could watch a flipbook and still tell you that it's a great piece of animation. For my scale, I put Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends at the bottom, and Dragon's Heaven at the top. I put this in the lower tier, but above Rocky and Bullwinkle. Aside from the backgrounds and the imaginative nature of each car, the animation just doesn't impress me. I've seen this style enough times in other modern cartoons to find not really anything that amazing about it. I don't want to complain too much though, since this is traditional animation, something that's dying out. Well, at least in the United States. Go over to any Asian country and that's all you see over there. Was there anything that I disliked? The main thing is the length. Each episode is only 11 minutes, and if you wanted to, you could probably plow through this whole season in under 2 hours. On top of that, it's only 10 episodes. Even the shorter seasons of Steven Universe were at least 20 episodes. It could be me, but with how this length is, I feel you could have easily edited this into a movie, rather than a series. I also didn't like how several episodes started in the middle of an already happening adventure. We do get the SparkNote version of them, but I would have rather liked to see the adventure that they were going on. While I do complain about the length, I am amazed as to how much story they can tell in only 11 minutes. The only episode that felt too short for me was the last one. I felt they could have spread out the finale into at least 2 episodes. In fact, that's what I was hoping for. This leads into the finale. I'm going to be objective about this, so don't worry about spoilers. As I said, it felt way too short. There were a lot of questions brought up in the final episode, and I would have loved for these to be explored, or at least touched on a little more. Also, it was way too conclusive. I heard a vague idea as to how the next season might be, but for now, I'm just wondering how can they continue the story from here. Would I recommend it? To that, I give a definite yes. Now, I said the animation style bores me. The cars they go into are colorful and imaginative, giving it life and a little bit of its own identity. I also love the sense of humor. Depressed 1-1 is hilarious with his warped sense of humor. Plus, there are other elements that come from the ignorance of Atticus, and just the idea that this fantastic world is just another day for these characters. I also feel that I have to mention the soundtrack. Being a person that grew up with a lot of NES, Super Nintendo, a lot of synth music, I just love the soundtrack to this show. Every time I pop this in, I've been listening to the main menu music, which is really just the main theme. While it goes on for like 3 minutes, I love to listen to it every single time. One last thing I like about this show is the moral. This one really resonates with this stage in my life. Probably be best if I quote it. We can't go back to the way things were. We have to adapt to the changes in our lives. It's the only way things can get better. I edited the quote a little bit to remove the spoilers, but you get the idea. This seems like the kind of message that can be applied to any stage in our lives. I can't think of too many other morals that have done that. I have heard that up to season 3 has been made, and a 4th is hanging in the balance, since it's not really getting as much recognition as it should be. I'd be very interested in seeing what the show has to offer, especially seeing how well done season 1 is. If you pick up the show, I recommend one thing, something the producers should have done as well. Make it last. If you watch one episode a week, you can build up anticipation and even speculation as to what might happen next, giving a little bit of suspense and just a little bit of mystery as well. It would give you something to look forward to rather than knocking down the numbers. That's all I can say that's free of spoilers. I hope you enjoyed this review, and maybe I even sparked your interest in this show. Other than DVD, I can tell you it's on Hulu, but only with select plans. I think there was also rumors that it may be going to HBO Plus, but I'm not sure how many people even have that. And I don't have Amazon, so maybe it might be on there as well. Oh well, you'll probably find it somewhere. Until next time, keep having fun.